What is wrong with you people? That is one of many comments I have received on my YouTube channel wondering why I don't just eat a balanced diet. So let's talk about a balanced diet and whether we need one. But first, I'm Texas Donna, and I am here to talk about living a carnivore lifestyle in the real world. And I'm doing this from the perspective of a wife and mother. I am in my 50s. I have a lifetime of battling hormone situations and weight fluctuations and all of that. So if you too live in the real world, then welcome. I invite you to click subscribe if you want to. I'd like you to click like on this video and maybe make a little comment about who you are and where you are on your journey. I read all the comments, but sometimes it takes me a couple of days. In any case, welcome. So let's talk about what a balanced diet is. I get a lot of comments, balanced diet, balanced diet. People really want to see a balanced diet on my plate. They're not, well, sometimes people are defining it. So I think what most people want to see, they want to see like on my plate, they want to see like a chicken breast about the size of the palm of my hand. They want to see a pile of vegetables of a variety of colors. And then they want to see something like kind of whitish yellow, like rice or a potato or something like that. So that's how people can sleep at night if that's how my plate is arranged. So let's talk about that because it is my plate. People really want to see that. So we apparently currently think, many of us, and by we I do not include me, that we must have all of these food groups. We must. And so I started looking into why that is, why we think that. Where did it come from? It came from somewhere. The idea came from somewhere. And I started looking into food education and the history of the food pyramid. Well, the food pyramid was devised in Sweden, not in response to nutritional needs, but in response to an economic crisis created by how Sweden was structuring its economy at that time as an experiment, which didn't work out. You can look more into that if you like and form your own conclusions. So they were trying to get full bellies that with food that people could afford when their economy was tanking. So that's how they came up with the food pyramid. I'm sure there was some nutritional consideration, but it certainly wasn't primary. Well, somebody over here saw that and thought, well, that's a great idea. Now, I was born in the late 60s, therefore I grew up in school in the 70s, and we had nutritional education. You all might remember posters on the wall about what we're supposed to be eating and the 4 basic food groups, that kind of thing. Well, that also came with very little actual nutritional input, and it was food industry input that involved itself in the creation of these dietary guidelines that we were all taught in school in the 1970s and beyond. There is a revolving door between government agencies and corporations. Hopefully you know that. If not, I invite you to look into it. So as part of this revolving door process, there is definitely a relationship between governmental decisions and corporate interests. And hey, I like to make money. It is what it is. But I also like to be the one deciding what's on my plate and why it's there. So I don't want what's on my plate to be influenced by the fact that Kraft would like to make more money off of me and they don't care if I get diabetes. So here we are. So that food pyramid and the wording surrounding dietary guidelines was guided by all of these meetings between all of these people. For example, they originally wanted to put eat less, eat less fat and sugar or something like that. I can't remember the exact phrase. But they had to change it to something like don't eat as much of, so that would make the processed food manufacturers happy. Well, I don't want those to be the guidelines that decide what's on my plate. So for everybody who cannot sleep at night because I don't have a balanced diet, I want to ask why I need a balanced diet. I would like a radical diet. That's what I would like. I would like a diet that is radically healthy for me. So why would I waste any space on my plate with a pile of food that I cannot digest? Why would I do that? Why would I waste any space on my plate with food that is not optimally geared for a human body to absorb? I have that question. So if there's a salad on my plate, let's say I can even digest a salad really well. Some of you apparently can. I can't, but let's pretend I can. But if the meat has many more of those same nutrients in higher concentration with greater bioavailability, why would I not eat just that? Now, I mean, I like asparagus. I like some veggies. Sometimes I put some on my plate. But why would I make sure obsessively to have my plate divided and to have all these ounces of things to make the food guide people happy? I'm just not going to do it. I didn't get to this place where I am of struggle, hormone imbalances, weight fluctuation. I didn't get here by eating meat. I got here by trying to adhere to some arbitrary standards set by people who do not have my best interests at heart. So I don't want a balanced diet. No, thank you. I would like a radical diet, one that's radically healthy for me. If you're already arguing with me in your head, I invite you to check out the anthropological science that is discussed by Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee, and Professor Bart Kay. They talk about the actual scientific discoveries and scientific analysis of human bones from way before agriculture and processed foods and how those humans were really eating. And I tell you, I feel much better when I just eat meat. I also get a lot of, but my grandma ate this and this and this, and my grandma ate biscuits, and my grandma ate blah, blah, blah. Well, so did my grandma. Now, my grandma died about 20 years ago of colon cancer, and she was petite. She got mad if she got up to 115 pounds. But regardless, that's what she ate, and she died of cancer. So first of all, I'm not sure that that's an argument. Even though she was petite, I don't know that it was good for her health, but let's go with it anyway. All right, let's just say, okay, well, that's great. Well, first of all, when our grandmas were eating, the food was a lot less processed, for one thing. But also, a lot of these food decisions were made out of poverty. Most people were not rich, say in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, when we're talking about this. People were not rich. People were trying to fill their tummies. And wealthier people were eating meat. They were eating steak, lobster, etc., etc. Poor people were trying to fill their tummies, and they were doing it with less optimal nutrition. And there was disease because of that, and the disease only got worse as the processed foods became more and more adulterated. So that by the time I came along and was growing up in the 1970s, and these fantastic things, TV dinners and Campbell's soup, and I mean, oh my gosh, a can of Campbell's tomato soup with a grilled cheese sandwich, that's just divine. But you know what? There was so much sugar in that soup. There's so many non-food items in those foods that people my age and younger were starting to see greater and greater rates of obesity and illness because we were eating. I mean, my mom, it didn't occur to her that in a can of tomato soup there was anything other than tomatoes and water and maybe some seasonings, right? We didn't think about that they would be doing that, but they were. So we were growing up on non-food. And then, of course, in my childhood, that's when divorce rates started skyrocketing, where my generation is famous for being latchkey kids, using food for comfort, using food for entertainment, using food in ways that it had not been used before. It had been used to sustain people. They would eat, and then they would go out and walk a long time to get where they needed to be, and they would work hard all day. So there was a lot more walking, a lot more physical work, just to get your day accomplished, just to fit the needs of your life. You would have a lot of physical activity. We generally don't have that level of physical activity now unless we do it on purpose. I don't know that people went for walks like we have to make ourselves do now, because they just needed to walk in order to sustain their life. So what grandma ate, well, grandma was in a completely different situation. And how did grandma die? My grandma, like I said, died of colon cancer, and I do then wonder about that. So, to everybody who wants to recommend a balanced diet, I hear you. I don't think a balanced diet is something that is in and of itself its own ethos. People say, oh, you need to eat a balanced diet, and everybody just nods their heads and nods along. But I don't think anybody's really thinking about what that really means and what the science might or might not be behind that. But if you have expressed care and concern for what's on my plate, well, I definitely appreciate that. And I just invite you to check out Doctors Barry, Chafee, and Kay for more information about that. And then look at your own plate and make your own decisions about the richness of the nutrients that are on that plate and whether they are bioavailable to you. And you can make your own decision. And if you are already on this type of journey with me in terms of a flawed carnivore lifestyle, then I'm super glad you're here. I would like to know more about where you are. And I would like each of us to ask ourselves, at the end of the day, what will I be able to say about the choices that I made? Bye now. Love you.